Rise Mzansi leader Songezo Zibi has warned Rise Mzansi supporters and the nation that if the current government continues to be in charge, the country's coffers may soon run dry and may ultimately not be able to pay social grants. Zibi has accused the ANC government of stealing, borrowing money irresponsibly and spending recklessly. His party is committed to improving leadership and governance in the country should it come to power post the 2024 election. Zibi addressed attendees at the party's People's Manifesto launch, which took place in Tshwane.
Thousands of Rise Mzansi supporters gathered at the Heartfelt Arena in Tshwane for the party's manifesto launch. Although the party is barely a year old, it promises to bring much to the political landscape, starting with fixing the country's economy. Party leader Songezo Zibi took a swipe at ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa with the comments he made at the ANC's January 8 statement in Mbombela, where he said social grants were likely to disappear if the ANC were to lose elections.
Our government's bank account is close to empty while our so-called leaders are living large. So this is why we are committed to fixing government finances, prosecuting corruption and spending responsibly to protect the social wage. You know, last week President Ramaphosa said, and he hides most of the time, by the way, he disappears for weeks and then he pops up to say something unbelievable. He was telling people that only the ANC can keep giving social grants. Other political parties will take it. He's lying. My friends, I want to tell you, there will soon be no money for social grants if the thieves are in charge of the national bank account. That's what we need to go out and tell people.
The party, which claims to have 200,000 supporters, says it will place an additional 1 million young people in training within the next 5 years, lamenting the many who did not complete school or receive post-school learning.
We will present a fully funded plan to place 1 million additional young people in training within 5 years so they can find work. Many of us were around in 1994. When the ANC took over, the first thing they did was to close technical colleges, nursing colleges, teachers' colleges. And they believe that a replacement for that is 350. South Africans are not lazy. South Africans want to work. South Africans want the dignity of work.
In dealing with the land issue, this is what the party's land policy position entails.
Two things that on the matter of land that are not done properly. Firstly, there is no spatial planning. I come from a village. There is no planning of where the grazing land is going to be, where people are going to settle, whether there are streets or paved roads with earth numbers and so on that can receive services. We don't do that, so it's just chaos. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you don't do that, you also don't know where to go and secure land. And one of the instruments available in South Africa in terms of our constitution is expropriation. That's why I refer to lawful expropriation. We do it when we want to build a dam, to build a road. For somebody who's from Joburg, 4 ways in 1993, William Nicol didn't go as far as it does, but land was expropriated to build that road. So it can be done for housing too.
For volunteers of the party, the work of rallying people behind the banner of Rise Mzansi starts now.
My responsibility, as Songezo mentioned, is that I should take part in the training. This will assist our elderly and eradicate poverty in our communities.
So as a person going back to my community, it's all about education, having those conversations. I am voting, but let me sit down and have a conversation with other young people and understand where they are and share the importance of voting. But more importantly, to vote for Rise Mzansi.
I would say training after school, like job opportunities that they can create. Most importantly, it's training. We can't get a job without a skill, so it's the most important thing. I would say that young people should look into Rise Mzansi.
Rise Mzansi now has a mammoth task of convincing the 26.8 million people who are on the voters' roll that they're the party of choice for South Africans. Natasha Piri, SABC News in Tshwane.
And now to talk about the Rise Mzansi party and its manifesto, we have Vuyiswa Ramukhopa joining us via Zoom. Hi Vuyiswa and welcome to Pitso. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Mzansi, Rise Mzansi has been a party that was launched 9 months ago. How big is this organization?
Yeah, so we launched on the 19th of April, 2023. And immediately post-launch, we set about establishing ourselves in all the provinces, and we now have presence and provincial leadership in all 9 provinces. And we have organizers and volunteers who do the work of engaging with citizens and potential voters every single day on the ground. We are represented in hundreds of municipalities across the country. And as it was stated in the clip before this, we now have about 200,000 actual registered supporters. And I want to qualify that because people often ask, how many members do you have? You know, we work, we refer to supporters and volunteers rather than members because, as you would know, there are many organizations that claim to have enormous numbers of members, but those are really dormant memberships. When we speak about 200,000, we are talking about people that have actively pledged their support for Rise Mzansi and have verbalized that they would be voting for Rise Mzansi in the upcoming election. So we continue that work. We are growing also at a rate of about 20 to 23,000 new supporters a week. And again, that is just a function of the fabulous work that's being done by the volunteers who exist and are working on the ground every day.
That really does sound like positive progress happening in the party. Vuyiswa, maybe you can just explain what is the party's vision for the country?
So when we launched, and as you would have seen in our manifesto launch this past weekend, Rise Mzansi has been quite clear that our big objective is to build a safe, equal, and a prosperous and united South Africa in one generation. And although that may just sound like a line, but each of those words really respond to the things that South Africans are most concerned about. Safety is a top priority for South Africans. We are one of the highest rates of violent crime and domestic violence and rape. And that needs to be addressed if we are to be able to craft a new vision and move forward as a country. Equal as part of our vision statement, because as we know, we are the most unequal country in the world, and it results in high levels of socioeconomic instability, but also fundamentally diminishes the quality of life of South Africans, and we have to address the issue of inequality head on. Prosperity is also key because we are not just talking about alleviating poverty. You know, you don't just reduce and make poverty slightly better. We must eradicate poverty. We must ensure that every single South African has the ability to live a dignified and happy life, and that they can actualize and be the best version of themselves. So prosperity is not just about financial prosperity, but it's really about being able to live a rich and full life. And I think the last part is about united, and a united South Africa speaks to the question of nation building. You know, the politicians of the day have actually largely abandoned the project of nation building. And as we know, South Africa is a diverse country, and that is, in fact, what makes us so great. But we have been unable to harness that greatness because, you know, a lot of our politics and our politicians are hell-bent on dividing our nation instead of bringing us together. So the question of nation building is also not just about the superficial aspects of kumbaya and let's go and watch the rugby and support the sports, but it's about saying, what are the key social levers that we need to address to be able to truly start to think of ourselves as a nation? So we need to start with education and educate young people about and cultivate a sense of shared history. We need to deal with the question of language and ensure that South Africans and all over are able to speak to each other. So we speak a little bit about that in our manifesto and about wanting to promote bilingual education in our schools. And just also being able to craft, a common identity and a common vision, because at this stage we are a country, but really we need to be moving towards being a nation. And so that is really what we aim to achieve. And we've set about in our manifesto sort of 5 key priorities that we see for the short to medium term. And it's obviously not, it will never be exhaustive. I think that it's a living document, but it is our sense of what the key priorities are for now.
You speak about the party wanting to achieve so many things. Are there any maybe tangible things that the party has done for the people of South Africa so far?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, a core part of what we advocate is that we are not waiting to be elected into power so that we can start to work. We have already started the work. On the ground, we have volunteers and organizers who every single day operate in communities and help to solve problems and drive solutions in communities. We have assisted numerous victims of shack fires, going as far as even helping to rebuild their homes. We have contributed to those who have been victims of the Joburg CBD fires and those that took place in the Western Cape. And something as simple as helping people to retrieve their documents that get destroyed in the fires, helping young people also to retrieve their documents, because as you know, now is matric certificate time. People end up losing their IDs, their documents, and then it stalls their lives. We've set up community food gardens in different communities, and we're really about communities empowering themselves. When we speak about bringing power back to the people, we really mean it. It's not up to us as a few individuals within Rise Mzansi, or even up to the government alone to do things for people. The government should be an enabler for people to be able to do for themselves. And so we have taken an approach that says in every community that we are in, we seek to enable people to do for themselves. So we build, we help set up those community gardens. We help people to organize themselves, to raise funds, and to do community cleanup initiatives. We can all complain about service delivery. The country is obviously in a crisis, and there's no leadership currently right now. But that then becomes a call to actions to the citizens to actually rise up and start to do more for ourselves, in an organized and coordinated fashion.
Vuyiswa, just the last question before we allow you to leave. The party leader is confident that Rise Mzansi will be represented in various legislatures and also in the National Assembly post the elections. Do you think you have enough supporters to get signature and contest for the state power in the upcoming elections?
Absolutely. Our projections are not based on hope alone. We've taken a very data-driven approach, and we've been able to map the key geographic areas where we are likely to be strong and turn out the most number of voters. We have invested quite significantly in our ground resources and in ensuring that we've got skilled community organizers and activists and people who are rooted in communities, because I think the challenge that a lot of South Africans have is that politicians just come every 5 years and throw, whatever they may throw around, money, food parcels and whatever, and then they go, and then we never see them again. I think what the citizens are looking for is, a new type of politics. They want people to deliver and to show that they can actually do what they say they can do. And I think we have been a testament to that, and our model has really done that. And more so, as I said, we are also growing our supporter base on a weekly basis and able to identify where those voters are and how we will be able to engage with them closer to the elections. And I think, ultimately South Africans are heartful. In the news clip you mentioned that 26.8 million South Africans don't vote. And a big part of the reason of that is because they are tired of the same old politicians telling the same old lies every single year. I am one of those citizens. And I think that is why myself and my colleagues took it upon ourselves to say, let us form a movement that is truly people-centered, that is seeking to really deliver a change, and that is driven by ordinary citizens like ourselves. And people have been very responsive to that.
Thank you so much, Vuyiswa, for your time here on Pitso. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
That was Vuyiswa Ramukhopa, a chairperson of the Mzansi party, Rise Mzansi party, and she was just explaining to us about the manifesto that was being held in Tshwane.